It's, well, sometime a little bit afternoon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Monday, December 2nd, with, well, some technical difficulties, but we're going to get through this with your host, me, Ray, and, well, that damn good-looking kid, Zach. I'm afraid to ask what's going on.
Today's show is brought to you by CarEdge.com. Good to be here with you, Pops. Happy Monday to everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed the holidays. Dad, we've got good things going. Cyber Monday back at CarEdge.com. Continue to have $100 off our car buying concierge service and 25% off CarEdge Insights. All sorts of great things going on over at CarEdge.com. If you're buying a car here between now and the end of the year, or in general, let us help you back at CarEdge.com. Dad, Stellantis is effed, baby. And we finally got some confirmation of that from the company themselves. Stellantis dealers, workers eager to move past Tavares. Dad, over the weekend, we've got Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, resigning and stepping down. You and I have talked about this for a while now, the anticipation that maybe he was on the hot seat because, as the title of today's show says, Ram, Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler can't sell anything. Are you surprised to see that the CEO of Stellantis, one of the world's largest automakers, has been fired?
Well, I believe his resignation was accepted, maybe requested and then accepted. I'm not 100% sure. Am I surprised? I believe we broke news several weeks ago. I think it was in early October, when Stellantis said they had already started the search for his replacement, and that the plan was to find his replacement, and he and they would honor his contract into early 2026. And I believe we might have discussed the probability, not the possibility, but the probability that he would never make it to the end of that contract. What we didn't realize was that he wouldn't make it to December 1st.
Yeah.
So that part happened a little quicker than I think we anticipated. But, you know, when a year and a half before your contract's up, they say, well, we're going to start the search for your replacement. That's normally corporate speak for, like, you're about to get your ass handed to you.
It was back on October 15th that Stellantis board came out and said, hey, we're going to review all of our brands for the next 2 to 3 years, how they're going to look, and we're going to look for a successor in the next year or two for our CEO. And then obviously the big headline over the weekend, quits abruptly over strategy dispute. Let's talk a little bit about that strategy, Dad. We know, we've been documenting it back on CarEdge.com. The strategy over at Stellantis has been to do exactly what you see on the screen here, folks. Build really expensive vehicles that don't sell. That's been the strategy. Okay, so it's a terrible, terrible situation for consumers. They've totally, pushed them aside. It's a terrible situation for the dealers. I mean, I really do want to focus on the consumer impact here, but like the impact on dealer bottom lines is huge, like tremendous, because dealers sitting on cars for, in this case, 183 days, or this more cost affordable 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee, 325 days. This eats at their bottom line. And then the suppliers too, because Stellantis, if I'm not mistaken, Dad, when the annual reports for supplier relations came out, they had the worst relationship with their suppliers. So this brand has been entirely tarnished by a strategy of really holding everyone's feet to the fire and then jacking up prices, and it hasn't worked.
Well, I mean, for, I guess, the past 18 months, Carlos Tavares had decided that he would be better off fighting with everyone. And by everyone, it was the suppliers, the parts suppliers that they had contracts with, the union labor that they had contracts with, well, and their dealer body, who is their distribution network. Okay, so he decided he was going to fight with every one of them, and how that was supposed to play out to be a winning strategy is beyond me. And in the article, they mentioned one of the reasons that the board finally asked for his resignation yesterday is because he was more concerned about a short-term strategy as opposed to the long-term strategy. Well, that's simply based on the way his contract was written. He gets paid based on what they do short term, not long term. So what the hell do you think he's going to be looking at? He's going to be looking at how he can maximize his income based on his pay plan. You know, one of the things I learned early on in the car business, that be careful how you structure a pay plan, because it might not always work out the way you thought it would as the person who came up with that pay. I mean, people figure out how to work their pay plan. Corporate CEOs are no different. You know, he was looking for short-term rewards and short-term wins because that's how he was going to get paid.
Yep.
And he knew he was done in 2026 anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Dad, we see here back on caredge.com/best deals, we have a hub for all of the year-end best deals. I'm not going to click on each of these individually, but let me tell you something, Pops. The deals on Stellantis products were already sweet. You know, a lot of people would say they weren't sweet enough, but they were pretty doggone sweet. They are going to get sweeter, I anticipate. I think you're going to see very quick movement here from the incoming CEO, interim CEO, because all this inventory that's in there, you got to do something with it. And we know you've covered this for 40 plus years. You got to discount the stuff. You got to, if you stack them deep, you got to sell them cheap. And so we've obviously got, you know, the best deals back here on CarEdge.com, but I'm pretty sure they're going to get even better as the end of the year comes to fruition.
Well, it would seem that way. And Carlos Traveras only had half of that slogan, and the half he had was stack them deep. He wasn't concerned about selling them cheap or even helping his dealers figure out ways to sell them, and that ultimately is what cost him his job. You can't take your distribution network and make them so mad at you that they don't want to work with you. So whoever comes in next, I mean, it shouldn't take much for the next CEO to come in and try to make amends for everything this guy did. And he or she, whoever it will be, will look like an absolute hero. But it all goes back to the chip shortage and the course of action that Stellantis took, which was, we are just going to abandon our entry-level vehicles. We are going to raise the cost of ownership because it benefits us as a manufacturer, not our dealers or our customers. And that was a course of action that, while it was profitable for 1, 2, or 3 years, it's all coming back to bite them in the ass today, because their profits and profit margins are nowhere near what they had hoped they would be had people continued to spend foolishly for these overpriced products, because nobody in the industry raised their MSRPs over the last 5 years more than Stellantis did with its products.
Yep, you're 100% right. We've got all that data back on caredge.com. Dad, I want to take a second. Mark, I lost my wife of 47 years on Saturday morning. Mark, so sorry. I haven't been there, but my dad certainly has. So our condolences to you and your family.
Yes, I saw that, and I'm glad you pulled it up. I wanted to say something if we could. I have lived through it. I don't necessarily recommend it, but I have lived through it. You will get past it, get through it. But I offer you my sincerest condolences, and if you ever want to have a chat offline, just email me at ray@caredge.com, and we'll figure out how we can have a chat, because I am intimately familiar with what you're going through, my friend, and well, I'm here for you. Okay,
I'm gonna promote something so that I can be distracted.
Okay.
We launched something new on the Car Search. It's 100% free. Brand new, Dad, vehicle detail pages. One of the things I'm most excited about here, and I know you will be too, we've added the cost of ownership data onto the vehicle detail pages. So I'm on a 2024 Honda Accord EX, and you can see the 5-year cost of ownership broken down by depreciation, maintenance, insurance, fuel, and interest, as well as expected maintenance costs, probability of a major repair, and your upcoming maintenance schedule too. We've got so much more that we're working on back on CarEdge.com, but I wanted to share this update that the team released this morning that I think is really fantastic. If you're searching for a car, I encourage you to give our website a try. All sorts of great information there.
That really is, important information that I have had conversations with you for the past 2 or 3 years. This is the type of information that people really need when they're thinking about spending the type of money it takes to buy a new car or a pre-owned car today. So to be able to have all this information in one place that shares with you what expected costs are going to be, what expected depreciation is going to be, and have it all right there for you, it's priceless. It is absolutely priceless. I don't want to say it separates us from everyone else, but damn it, it separates us from everyone else. And it's just highly valuable information that you need in order to make an informed and intelligent financial decision when you're thinking about the vehicles you might be considering.
Absolutely. Take a peek, folks. We've got from Baron. Thank you, Baron.
Thank you, Baron.
You complained about Carlos Tavares. I told you the board and shareholders, while not quick, wouldn't stand for this. Voila, they have taken action. Yeah, I'm actually really interested to go to our next story. Thanks for queuing that up, Baron. They're not the only automaker that has taken action recently. Another struggling automaker is Nissan, Dad,
Yeah.
and Nissan's chief financial officer. Let me pull this up on the screen. Stephen Ma, poised to step down as the car maker faces raft of challenges, report says. So in the same weekend that we had the CEO of Stellantis stepping down, we also have the chief financial officer, which is typically second or third in command to the CEO, depending on the corporation, stepping down from Nissan, another automaker that has been struggling mightily. So this is another kind of chink in the armor for the auto industry, Dad, demonstrating that it's weaker than it actually might appear.
I think it is a loud signal that the auto industry as a whole is not in a good place at the moment. All the monies that were earmarked for EVs and everything else, all the expense, the additional expense that all these companies took on, it's not quite working out the way they had all thought it would. There was an article a few days ago that Nissan could have 12 to 14 months left in their existence. There's also a rumor that Honda might be in line to buy into the company and help save them. I don't know what type of alliance that would be.
Yeah.
It seems to me it would end up cheapening the Honda brand and not necessarily helping the Honda brand. But this is an indication that globally, legacy manufacturers that have played such an important role in automotive for the last 100+ years could all be going by the wayside. It is going to be a whole new world out there.
Can I show you one more story, Dad? Because,
Sure.
we can't make this stuff up. It's just the headlines when you come back from Thanksgiving. VW workers strike at 9 plants as labor battle escalates. So the headlines are not just Stellantis, not just Nissan, not just Volkswagen. It's all of them at the same exact time. And was it just last week or 2 weeks ago we were talking about Mercedes-Benz struggling with their profitability too?
Yeah.
Mazda has grown significantly but struggling with profitability. So I agree with you. This is a broader resetting of the market happening for legacy auto, for an industry that has, forever just jacked up prices, steady as she goes, but now really struggling.
When you think about it, 3 years ago, it was like they were all rolling in dough.
They were.
They couldn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
And the reason they couldn't do anything wrong is because they couldn't produce the vehicles they needed to produce. And they found this new way that we were going to keep inventory levels low. We're going to keep them reasonable. We're not going to produce vehicles in the same numbers that we used to, so that we're just scratching and clawing for sales. And then lo and behold, they lost their way rather quickly, all of them, because we're back up to over 3 million new vehicles available in inventory again. So it was like they were all fat and happy. It was as if they all knew what the hell they were doing, when in reality, they didn't. Okay. As it turns out, none of them apparently knew what they were doing when it came to how are we going to continue to make money? How are we going to service our customers? How are we going to produce vehicles that more and more people could buy? They just concerned themselves with crazy profits, which they thought were going to continue forever. And well, as we found out, forever was about 2.5 to 3 years.
It's like you can only run the well dry you can only tap the well for so long before it runs dry.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're seeing here, which is fascinating because this time a year ago was starting to become a buyer's market. This time 2 years ago was certainly a seller's market. This time 3 years ago, certainly a seller's market. This time this year, Dad, the best buyer's market in recent memory. And I think it's really interesting. I'm going to pull up, Dad. This comes from the Federal Reserve. These are light vehicle sales in the United States of America from 1980. Before 1980 here, this goes all the way back to 1976 to today.
Wow.
What do you see here, Dad? It's not one of those charts that you want to see where it's going up and to the right. Vehicle sales have been flat for the past 40 plus years.
Why is that?
Why is that? I think it's because the well has run dry. You cannot afford a vehicle if you're an average American. And what happens is you sell fewer and you jack up the price. And eventually that stops working too. And what happens then? Then you have to discount the hell out of these things. And that's what we're watching happen right now.
And part of it is advances in safety and technology. And
Sure.
and as these technologies came along, and the safety of these technologies help actually improve the safety of the cars, the governments worldwide said, okay, that's got to be in your future vehicles. Well, you can't just keep adding costs and costs and costs to the vehicles and expect for people whose wages might not necessarily be keeping up with those costs to continue to buy your new cars. I believe since 1975, at least in the United States, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe back in 75, the population of the United States of America might have been around 200 million people. Today, it's 330 million people. The percentage of people actually buying cars, new cars, hasn't gone up. Okay, it's remained somewhat stagnant. I think the high water mark was like 17.5 million new cars one year. So it is just part of it is government, because was that a pretty good guess as to damn, I should have read the Encyclopedia Britannica even more when I was younger. But my point is that you can't just keep adding costs and costs and costs and expect the public to continue to buy and buy and buy. There has to be a way for these manufacturers to figure out, and for governments to figure out, and encourage these manufacturers to broaden their customer base by figuring out ways to make less expensive vehicles that can still be profitable for the manufacturers to build, and that are easily accessible for the public out there. You can't have the population of the world continue to grow and the percentage of people who can actually afford to buy a car continue to go down. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
I hear you loud and clear, Dad. And if you do continue to operate within that paradigm, you know what happens? You get headlines like the ones we led today's show with, which are all sadly negative for the industry. However, positive for consumers. As the industry hurts, it's a great tailwind for consumers who are contemplating purchasing a vehicle. And I think, Dad, next year we have to spend more time on used vehicles, because I think there's going to be more and more people that continue to look to used vehicles. We got to find ways to support the CarEdge community in purchasing used vehicles, because, which to be clear, we do back on CarEdge.com, but even more, because I don't think it's going to change like that. I think it's going to take time. Like we're talking about new car prices that went from average $35,000, $36,000 to close to $50,000. And now we're talking about incentives getting back to where they historically were. They're coming down. Prices are coming down. There's no doubt about that, but it's not enough. And so I think there's going to continue to be more and more pressure on used cars to try and meet that demand. But we know what happens when supply is low and demand is high, prices go up. So it's a tricky situation.
And we also know that there's going to be, for the next year and a half, a shortage of younger, lower mileage used vehicles, because of the number of leases that didn't happen that normally would have happened, and to the tune of about 1 million vehicles a year that normally would have been leased that weren't leased. So those won't be coming back anytime soon because they never happened. Okay. And that's the beauty of leasing, is that it forces the customer to make a decision every 2 to 3 years, and it brings good quality used vehicles back into the marketplace every 2 to 3 years, as opposed to when you saddle people with 6-year or 7 or 8-year auto loans. They can't get back into the market in 2 to 3 years. They're stuck, which means the shortage of used cars will continue.
For sure. Yeah. And we're seeing an uptake in leasing at present. Hey, Dad, I want to do one quick ask to the CarEdge community, and then we're going to jump to the chat and then another story. I just dropped in the chat a link to the CarEdge Google reviews. I've seen quite a few comments come through today from Wilson here. Thank you, CarEdge. I purchased a 2025 Honda CRV, $3,500 off, thanks to the info you provide. From that, Alexander as well. Congrats, Alexander, on your 2025 Corolla purchase over the weekend. If we've helped you in any way, shape, or form, if you can leave a review on our Google page, that means the world to us. I just dropped that link down in the description. We had from Barron earlier in the show, Dad. Thank you, Barron. Federal government EV subsidies are going away too. Good. Yes, we anticipate that is set to happen in about 2 months or 6 weeks from now. So that should have an impact on the market. And we've got from James, Dad. Thank you, James. What are your thoughts on a Cadillac Escalade versus the 2024 versus the new Lexus GX? I did research on your site and wanted to hear your thoughts. I plan to keep the vehicle for 3 to 6 years and 50 to 75,000 miles. What I did, Dad, is I actually went to the CarEdge website. We now have a car comparison feature. Unfortunately, the brand new GX is not loaded up yet. We have tons of vehicles we need to add, and the team is aware of that. But I did do the comparison here of the GX 460 versus the Cadillac Escalade, and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, Dad, from a cost of ownership standpoint and from a CarEdge value rating standpoint. The Lexus beats the Cadillac. But what do you think in this case, Dad, for James, who's contemplating the Escalade versus the new Lexus GX?
Well, I was going to suggest doing exactly what you did, where you could see what the anticipated cost of ownership is going to be. We know that Toyota and Lexus have run into some quality issues over the last year and a half, and that they're trying their best to remedy that and not have them moving forward. Suffice it to say, even with their quality issues, they're still probably a more reliable and dependent vehicle than a GM product. And fit and finish quality wise, typically it's going to be a better vehicle. Based on depreciation and things of that nature, just anecdotal stories of, we have friends of ours who have several Lexuses and 150, 200,000 miles on them. Very rarely any issues. And knowing what I know from when we lived in Arizona, and I had the golf store there, which was down the street at that time from the GM proving grounds, and I used to talk to the GM engineers all the time. And I would ask them, "Well, what's the best vehicles being built today?" This was in the early 90s. And every engineer I asked, they'd say, it's a Lexus. You tear them down, you look at the quality of the parts and everything that they're using. There's nothing that comes close. So just based on that and their history, I would say the Lexus. But it all comes down to personal preference.
It does indeed. We've got here, Dad, from J. Nabisco. Thank you, J. Nabisco. Thank you for all the advice CarEdge provided me for 4 years now. Got my 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe Limited Friday for $42,000 out the door from a $48,000 MSRP, $2,500 discount, and $3,000 in rebates. I put down $6,000 and got a 7% APR. Happy with my purchase. Congratulations,
Yes.
J. Nabisco. And I think worthwhile to mention to everyone that back on CarEdge.com under research, you can click on see what others paid. This is where you can submit the deal that you received recently, as well as view what other people in our community, including our concierge car buying service. We're all about transparency here at CarEdge. So you can see, Jay, if that deal stacks up relative to your peers, and I'm pretty doggone sure it does. Go take advantage of that incredible resource that is available for free back on CarEdge.com. Dad, we've got one more comment here in the chat, and then I want to bring up another story from Dreadnought. Thank you, Dreadnought. Would you buy a recreational vehicle now if future recreational vehicles are banned? Is there talk about banning RVs? Did I miss this?
If there is, it's news to me. Well, for me, the answer is quite simple. I would never own an RV, but that's just me. I would much rather stay in a Marriott than the vehicle I'm driving in. That's just me. But yeah, if they're going to be banned, if they're going to be done away with, well, yeah, you'd probably be better off buying one today than what's going to happen in the future.
Another story, Dad, that received a lot of attention, but came out during a period where everyone was busy. From Auto News China, some 4,000 car dealerships will close across China in 2024, Trade Group warns. I don't know if you saw this article, Dad, but it demonstrated and showed how unprofitable car dealerships have become in China. 4,000 of the sum, I think it's close to 30,000 in China, closing down. So like another example of this industry, not even just domestically, but internationally running into a lot of challenges. I thought it was very, very fascinating.
Well, that and if it's 4,000 out of 30,000, that's quite a bit. That's a real thinning of the herd. I mean, the future of automotive as we know it, I think is going to be dramatically different than what we know it to have been.
Look at this, Dad. The survey, according to a survey released by the association in August, 51% of car dealerships were unprofitable in the first half of the year. Only 35% were profitable, and the rest broke even. And this is 4,000 closing out of 34,000 in China. These are franchise car dealerships.
Yeah.
So, and this is because of price competition, they said. So we've made videos about this. We talk about it all the time. End of year is the best time to buy a car. The way that you get the best deals, you get dealers to compete on price. This is what we help you with, obviously, on the main channel, on the website. And here's an example of how difficult it is to be in the industry right now and why it's a buyer's market. I am glad, Dad, that you do not sell cars right now, because we probably wouldn't have gone on family vacation this year. Like, it's just, it's not a good look.
The reality is that whenever there's changes at any of these major manufacturers, one of the first things that the incoming CEO or high-ranking official is going to talk about is, well, we need to make sure that all our dealers are profitable, because prior to COVID, it wasn't a given that an automobile dealership would be profitable. It certainly was even less of a given that the new car department at a new car franchise would be profitable. Dealerships weren't looking for the new car department to be the profit center of their universe. So it doesn't surprise me that dealerships in China, through competition and everything else, suffer the same way the dealerships here in the United States suffer. When there's competition,
Yep.
you have to figure out how to compete and still be able to make some money. And yeah, it's not good that 51% of the franchise dealerships in China are not making money.
Nope.
That's not a good thing.
Buyer's market, baby. Buyer's market. All right, folks, we've got here from Michael. Thank you, Michael. Special thanks to Ray and Zach for all the tools needed to get a new car with an out-the-door price $3,000 under MSRP. Congratulations, Michael. We love seeing and hearing all the success stories this time of year. And again, I'll remind everyone, our Cyber Monday sale ends in 11 hours, 26 minutes, and 55 seconds. Go for it.
I just want to remind people, when we talk about out the door, what the out the door number represents is the selling price of the vehicle that you've agreed to, with whatever discounts from the dealer, plus any incentives from the manufacturer, plus all fees. What do I mean by all fees? Sales tax, title, licensing fees, any fee that you can think of that would get added. You want to know what the total bottom line price is on a vehicle, including everything, as if you were going to write a check for it. That's the out the door price. The out the door price isn't the selling price plus any dealer installed options that you agree to, then not including sales tax, title, doc fee, everything else. Out the door is every penny accounted for in the price. Just remember that.
There you go, from Michael. The price was a true OTD, all taxes and fees. My daughter's first new car. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Michael, and job well done. I will, Dad, take a moment here to shout out our car search again. Let me come over here. I don't know. Let's look at a Mazda, a new one. I don't know. Let's look at a CX-90 here. Let me pull this up on the screen. If you scroll down, folks, you will be able to see your out the door price calculator right there. So you can get a sense for what your expected out the door price will actually be. And Dad, I really gotta say kudos to the team. We have the car comparison all hooked up here too. You can see on average what other CarEdge community members are saving on specific vehicles. We're cranking over here, folks. Really good resources available out there and back on the website. All right, Dad, that's all I had for today. I think we'll be back tomorrow with more of CarEdge Live at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
No. Did you have a good time? I haven't seen you since you got back.
Dude, you want to see something gross?
Okay.
I have so many blisters on my hands from the rock climb. I had a great time, but wow, shocker. Like, my hands are messed up.
Wow. Is that because when rocks are cold, hands don't work as well?
Also, I wasn't going to tell you this, but I will tell you. So
Okay.
So we did some rope climbing, but more bouldering, which is no ropes.
Excuse me.
Shocker. It's harder outside. The grading system is harder outside than at the gym. I learned that. But I did. Okay, I learned this vernacular. It's called highball, Dad. That's like a tall boulder. I did one that was like over 20 feet, and I was so scared. I mean, obviously, I climbed it and I finished it and I didn't fall. But I was like shaking, man. I was so scared. I think I prefer the rope climbing. Doing it without ropes is really scary.
I love the fact that you're somewhat of an adventurer.
Yeah, here, I'm going to show you a photo. You're going to not like it.
And I wish that you were more of a couch potato. Okay. I don't want, selfishly as a father, I don't want anything to happen to you. And the kind of stuff that you were doing is, get the hell. It's a good thing I wasn't there. I would have been screaming at you the whole time. The kind of stuff that you were doing is, though it might be thrilling, the risk involved if there is a mistake of any kind.
My hands are sweating right now, Dad. Yeah, it was scary, dude.
I mean, I did see that one picture and it looked like you brought your own pillow things to fall on, mattresses to fall on if you fell. Yeah, but that only works if you land on the damn thing. And let's hope you don't land on your head as you're landing. So, I would prefer you find other adventuresome ways to use up your time. Do more races, okay? I'd rather you do that than this stuff.
No, it was pretty fun, man. I think I'm going to do more and more rope climbing because it feels much safer and still gets the adrenaline going. But I'm going to continue, Dad. It's quite fun, and hopefully I'll get you out there with me one day.
What, to catch you?
All right, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. If we can help with anything,
Man
please.
crushed by falling sun.
If we can help you with anything, please check out the website. We're really busy right now, folks. Really busy. It's the end of the year. If you're in the market for a new car, now is the time. So please give us a chance and an opportunity. Use the free tools, use the resources. Dad, we'll be back tomorrow. I love you very much.
All right. It's good seeing you. I love you as well, handsome.
See you guys.
See you, everyone.